Perfect.
You came really close then. We were both like that.
Sorry?
You came in really close. You were staring at your screen, obviously. I'll edit this, don't worry.
Right, I'm going to record it as well.
Okay. Well, I'm recording too, so between us, we'll capture something.
Yeah. You'd hope so.
Yeah. Famous last words.
Cool. Perfect. Right, hang on. I'll record it. I don't even know if I can record it too, actually. Let's have a look.
Well, if not, I've also got the easy recorder that I've used for my other podcast. I'll just start that as well. We're all covered.
So I've got ScreenFlow on. I've got you've got Skype on. I've just knocked down something. Hang on. Hang on. Right, got it. I just need to move that pin. Health and safety.
Is your OCD telling you to move it?
Well, I just have hear me putting in her mouth or something. Somehow getting hold of it. Right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cool. Shall I get the questions up and then I'll write them down, because if I'm recording it, it'll look rubbish if I ever post a video of it. If you're all right with that or not. Would you rather just do it as...
No, I'm happy to do video. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm just going to get the questions as well. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and I think I was going to speak to you about this as well. You know about the Thursday evenings and the birthday sessions. If every other week you wanted to do yoga.
Oh, cool.
Make yoga like more of a fortnightly thing.
Yeah.
So one, it makes it easier for you, I guess, anyway. But two, a lot of people really like the yoga.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
I think fortnightly would be quite good.
Okay. Excuse me, hang on. It's typical that I've got that your throat thing today. But
yeah, I know.
There must be something going around, but that's fine.
Sounds better today, though.
It wasn't earlier. I've just not spoken all day.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So this will be, I'll try and make it around like 20 or half an hour. Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. Perfect. Right, so I've got the questions about that. And let me just move. Hang on. Just check it's recording.
Paranoia.
I know. Okay, cool. Good to go?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. So I'm here with Katie, who has just got married, actually. So congratulations to Katie, who's now Katie Peace. I actually nearly said your maiden name then.
How could you?
I know. So Katie does, just as a bit of background, Katie does yoga sessions on the program, and also some of the other sessions as well. And today we're just going to talk about not just kind of yoga, but also about Katie's history of food, about kind of relationship with food, and also how this relates to kind of the diet industry and a lot of questions and the way that the diet industry is kind of run, really. So from emphasis on weight to good, bad foods to who knows. We'll see where we go. So yeah, Kate, if you wouldn't mind just kind of saying a bit more about you, really.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you said, I've got my own journey with food, I guess, and body, issues. And I always when I started with you about 2.5 years ago now, I felt like I was coming at it from a different side. So even though I still had the same food queries and issues, I was looking to try and gain weight rather than lose the weight, but still trying to come to the same point of body acceptance as women trying to lose weight. So I felt like I was on the same journey, just going from the totally different way. So I'll explain a bit more about that. Basically, for about 10 years, a good decade, I sort of lived with, I like to call myself a functioning anorexic, because I guess I lived in diet culture, actually. I had this view that to be worthy and to be confident and accepted in society, that I needed this slim, lean, six-pack stomach body that led me down the road to control and ultimately anorexia. And I think when I came to you, I was probably just starting to recover. As you remember, I was desperately thin, very ill, really confused, didn't know what to do. Food scared the life out of me. And unfortunately, conventional treatment in terms of going to clinics and therapists just wasn't working for me. I couldn't relate to them. And I felt at the time the only way I could relate was to have somebody who I trusted in the food industry, I guess, as in a nutritionist and somebody who understood the process of gaining muscle and weight in a healthy way. And you were that person. And I think it took a long time to get to you and find you. But when I did, that's when the whole process of getting better started. But that took a good 2 years, as you know, to get where I am today.
And that's huge, actually. Like, I don't think it's hard to understand because it's all, like you said, about self-acceptance, right? Because and I even talk about it all the time, about it being you versus you.
Yeah.
But even you versus you can be misinterpreted as you versus the best version of you.
Correct.
The best version of you being based on what you think you should do based on what someone else is doing. So like you said, I feel like to have self-worth, I need to have a six-pack, be really lean, body is a temple kind of thing. But actually, and if you get there, it's not as straightforward as people actually think. And that's why I always focus on the process and the journey and actually what happiness actually is.
That's so true. And I think when you go into starvation mode, I don't know if it's the same as when you're particularly overweight. I mean, I've not been in that situation, but certainly when you're in starvation mode, it's become so much part of your life that you can't imagine anything outside of food or diet or control over it. And it's only since probably a good year ago that I realized when you come out of that, just how much more there is to life. Yet when you're in it, and we're all in it to a certain extent because that's just diet culture. But when you're in it through illness or low self-esteem or confidence, it's so hard to get out of it. And it is you versus you. And whether that's the good you or the bad you, only you can pull yourself out of it. And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
You can be given all the treatment in the world, all the therapy in the world. But at the end of the day, you have to make that decision to get better or to lose weight, to gain weight. And equally, when you're surrounded by a society where weight loss is so predominant, can you imagine having to gain weight against everything that you're seeing in magazine? I had to shut myself. I couldn't even look at the magazine rack in Waitrose or wherever because of the skinny models on the front. You have to just almost become blinker to everything you're hearing. And I'm not saying that's easier if you're losing weight because it's still under pressure, but when you're going against exactly what society want you to do, that was what I found the hardest, I think.
Every headline is lose X amount of pounds with this ketogenic diet, lose X amount of pounds with this vegan diet, lose X amount of pounds by this carnivore diet.
Yeah.
They're all
like you used to say to me, like, all of these things don't actually relate to you. You have to switch off from them because you're coming from on a different journey. But that, again, it's just conditioning of diet culture. It's so hard. I'm not saying my journey is any harder than anyone else's. It wasn't. It was just, it wasn't something I intend to go through again, put it that way.
Yeah, I get that. And like with relating it the other way, like, because like with any, like, eating disorders, a broad term, right? So technically, binge eating disorder is the most popular one.
Yeah.
And it's also the most secret one.
Yeah.
And because it's, you can't really see it. Someone can go about their day, they seem really nice.
Yeah.
Never eat much. And you think, oh well. And they go home though, and they eat maybe a pack of biscuits, crisps, stuff like that. And like you said, like the control thing, there's so much more into it, and you could go quite deep with this. You could go as far as job satisfaction could be linked to it, relationships could link to it, family stuff could link to it, all these things. And it's almost like we're covering up feelings potentially with food. And it's also a distraction as well, which is, yeah.
It's weird because I spent so much time trying to educate myself on all of this, because I certainly through my recovery went through binge eating. I am not ashamed to say it, because you know, all of these 5-2 diets, intermittent fasting, they all encourage binge eat, whatever binge eating is. Your body is just telling you it needs fat, it needs energy, it needs sugar. It's going to force you to eat. It's not your fault. It's your body wanting to survive. So all of it, you know, binge eating and comfort eating annoys me, because actually it's just your body to some extent. Okay, emotion does come into it to some extent, telling you it needs energy. It's distinguishing your emotion away from that. At what point do you stop? You know, because you with binging, I know I did it. You can eat. And I remember I used to email you, Matt, I've binged on carrots. You know, who the hell can binge on carrots?
Yeah.
But you binge on any food. It doesn't have to be chocolate or crisps, because as your body senses it's going into some sort of deprivation, it will get you to eat. So the 5-2 diet to me is the worst freaking thing you could do, because your body will drive you to eat on those 2 days and make up all the calories you've not eaten for the other. So
I guess you have to be a certain person.
You do.
Fit you. And if you had a relationship where, so for example, some of the ladies on the program will often say they've done like Slimming World or something where you get free foods.
For God's sake, no food is free.
It's a bit like saying, like, and that works for some people, and that's great. But for some people, if you say, it's like going to the shops and saying, if I said to you, right, Katie, you can, as long as everything you buy is under £1, you can have as much as you want.
Yeah.
The thing is, by the end of your trolley, it would have totaled up, and you might have been like, oh, actually, I've spent quite a lot now.
You're so right.
And it's, but that the free food thing can in certain people then create the almost the reaction where, say there's one potato left, there's no point saving it for tomorrow because it's free anyway.
Yeah.
I'll eat it. Problem with that is, well, one, we can get used to feeling really stuffed, and stuffed on good food, that's fine. But if we're used to feeling really stuffed on vegetables, all of a sudden, when you do go a bit off it, you then you're not really in tune with your hunger as well.
So true.
But going back to the emotion thing, it is interesting because sometimes, yeah, we need energy, but sometimes that's not in the form of food. That's actually in the form of self-care. Be it going to bed earlier, switching your phone off, meditation, yoga, doing something fun.
About what you encourage, because you really encourage people for self-care, and actually a lot of this body acceptance and diet industry really lack that self-care side of it. Simple things like distraction, like having a bath or reading a book, which none of us can be asked to do because it's easier to pick up a Kit Kat or whatever it might be. So you're so right. Self-care's what
I actually catch myself saying that.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to have a nap.
Yeah.
When I look back, I think I can't be bothered to have a nap. I can't be bothered to do nothing because it's easier to do something than nothing.
You're so right. Yeah.
Though some people, the problem is some people feel guilty for doing the self-care stuff because they feel like they should be doing something else, forgetting that it will actually give you more energy, make you more productive, and actually you'll be able to help more people and help yourself better from it. For example, I had 10-minute nap just before we come on this. This morning, I was going to have a nap. I was feeling quite tired. I was like, right, I need a quick shut eye, I think, because I'm early start. And I was like, oh, I haven't really got enough time. And then I looked at it and I thought, well, I've got 4 minutes. So I ended up having 4 minutes just shut eye. And the difference that makes, and it sounds really, what's 4 minutes? But I would say if you had like 60 quid and someone said, right, save £4 every hour for you and deep breathe, like over the course of the day, that adds up, right? Even 10 hours, so you're at work for 10 hours or whatever, that'll be 40 quid if you like in pounds, but 40 minutes, no, it's not really worth it. It's funny.
I think it's just the conditioning. It's the society we live in where we all have to be busy all the time, eating perfect all the time. And I think the guilt associated with that just encourages, again, ill feelings, guilt. Guilt's the worst thing in the world, I think, in most walks of life. We carry so much guilt over what we should and shouldn't be doing, bringing up children, eating well, sleeping, not sleeping, bathing. Yeah, guilt is the killer. It's like comparison. It's a thief of joy. It's awful.
Yeah, it really is. And that's it. Like,
perfect, right? We're all going to be guilty of doing something at some point, whatever diet is for you. And I don't mean diet in the sense of losing weight. I mean diet as in the sense of just food.
Yeah, and exercise. Yeah, cool. So obviously you do like the yoga sessions and other sessions. Like a lot of the ladies will either say, oh, I've done yoga before and there's no way I can do that. Like some of those, their vision is that I'm going to put their foot over their head and then they'll be balancing on, they see a pose and they're like, whoa.
They see someone on a cliff, like with their leg behind their head on Instagram.
Yeah. Like what I want to kind of go over is almost like the myths and also the benefits of it. Because I'll be honest, I used to almost poo-poo it a bit until I did it. And there's different types and stuff like that. Yeah, so if you can go over kind of like your style of it, really, because it seems to work well. Once the ladies do it, they go, oh, right.
So I think, as you know, I'm not a conventional yoga teacher. I think I've got too much attitude to be a conventional one. As in, what I mean by that, and this is a massive generalization, is that I don't burn incense. I don't try and tap into inner spirits or any of that stuff in my class, or I don't make people chant, or I literally just focus on stretching. And yoga was a massive part of me recovering. I think just before I started with you, I'd been on a yoga teaching course. And I'm not going to lie, it helped. That time alone with myself helped. Was it to do with yoga? No, it was to do, I was shut away somewhere with my own thoughts, and that's what I needed. So for me, yoga is about stretching. And I think what people don't do enough, as well as drink water, is stretch. And it's the easiest, quickest form of relaxing, engaging your muscles. And actually, it is a form of exercise. You're not burning the same calories as you would be doing cardio, but you're preparing your muscles to work, or you're recovering your muscles from one of your classes. And so for me, yoga, and what you renamed to stretchology, which was just perfect, is just a way of waking up your body. And I've yet to come across somebody who has done a 20-minute class who hasn't walked away going, oh my God, my shoulders feel so much better, or my posture's better, or I just feel a bit more relaxed, or my legs aren't as tight, and for me, that's my style of yoga. It's not the quintessential Chennai, yoga with incense sticks. I'm not that kind of girl. It's the stretching, it's the movement that I focus on in yoga. So I think that's what probably makes my classes slightly less intimidating, maybe. And I certainly am not flexible, because I think people have this impression that yoga, you have to touch your toes and wind your leg behind your head. You really don't. And I think that makes it so nerve-wracking for people when they first come. Lots of ladies that I've taught were like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that you didn't have to be flexible, because as a teacher, I'm not. So that shows them that it's not about how flexible you are. It's about how far you can reach, not how far someone else next to you can. So yeah, that's my style of stretchology, yoga.
And it's like fitness as well. It's almost like someone saying, I would do it, but I'm not fit enough.
Correct.
I would come to a fitness session, but I'm not fit enough.
Yeah.
But the point is to go there and adapt it for you. And like you've done, whole sessions from standing or whole sessions from laying.
Yeah.
There's always an alternative. And when you focus on the thing you can do, that's when you'll start building momentum. Then all of a sudden you change and you're like, oh, actually, I can do that. And then you're the person then telling the person who had your fears in the first time, going, oh, I could never do that. You'll go, yeah, I used to not be able to do that too. Like, you know.
Exactly. And it is hard, a lot of the time, it is simple things like touching your toes. 20 minutes at the beginning of that class, I can't touch my toes. At the end, we're all almost touching our toes. It just goes to show that, that's just an example of what we do, but it just goes to show that not only does that give you a sense of achievement and you've achieved something that you thought you wouldn't be able to, but it also actually has helped your muscles in one way or another. And we all know that just moving and stretching every day for 10 minutes, it will just help you in older life.
Yeah.
The more you can move your body, it doesn't have to be vigorous. And also it complements your classes, I think, because a lot of your classes now, especially the kettlebell work, you can leave feeling quite tight. So to sort of relax and chill and stretch a bit will help.
Yeah. And also like day-to-day things too. So for example, some of the ladies used to laugh at me about a year ago because I couldn't, even though I described myself as quite fit, I couldn't get up off the floor without using my hands.
Oh my God, I saw you doing this in the gym one day as well, with Billy, I think.
Yeah. So there was a documentary, or not a documentary, I think it was Michael Mosley, maybe.
Yeah, it was.
He talked about, and it was used as a life expectancy thing. And I thought, wow, I can't do that. Well, anyway, stretching my hips, doing some extra stuff, I can now do it. Like, so today, they said this morning, we're doing a, is it a Macmillan coffee morning? That's it.
Oh,
we're doing one of them.
To that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing one of them, and they were like, oh, maybe we should raise some extra money. Matt, if you can do 20 from the floor in a row, I'll sponsor you. And I went, let me see if I can still do it. And I went down and I did about 3 in a row very easily. And funny enough, a year ago, I could barely do one.
Yeah.
And it just shows how, and apparently I'm now going to live longer, according to Michael Mosley.
Wow.
20 times longer.
Michael's now God of the get-up world.
Yeah.
In all honesty, though, it's also persistent consistency, which is one of your favourite sayings. It's all well and good, but you have to practice that every day, like with your chin-ups. You've only been able to achieve that because you worked on it every day. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and then it comes back to thinking that there's no point doing yoga every day for 5 hours if in a week you're going to do none.
Yeah.
Just think about small little bite sizes and just remain consistent with it. Yeah.
I mean, as a yoga teacher, I do 2 classes a week. I don't practice any other yoga myself, totally hypocritical, but I stretch. I'll stretch every day. That's the difference.
Yeah, but over the year then, that's quite huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So if we go on to kind of, because I know obviously about relationship with food, like we touched on at the start, almost like things that you've kind of come across in the diet industry that make you kind of think, oh, should we be doing that? Or just to go around that, because I know, people have different views on certain things.
I know.
Around
and as you said earlier, I don't want to. I've got quite strong opinions on it, obviously, because I'm hypersensitive to diet culture. So I'm coming at it from a very pessimistic point of view, I guess.
Yes, so I just wanted to know your views on that, because obviously I touched on it briefly in a kind of blog recently about things like the Weight Watchers app, stuff like that for kids, and obviously coming from eating disorder myself, what your views are on around that as well.
Yeah, because your eating disorder you had when you were young, didn't you? I was in my late 20s, early 30s. Yours was though child time almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've tried not to actually read so much hype on the Child Weight Watchers app. So when you said about the questions, I actually read up a little bit about it. Now, I've got 2 opinions on it.
Yeah.
Weight Watchers as a whole, you can see why it works, right? It's calorie focused, which is ultimately what everybody should be. There should be no good or bad foods, no sin food, no free food. It's just calories. If you eat more than, you eat more calories in the day than you burn, you'll put on weight. Simple. That's as complicated as it is. Whether that comes from 5 chocolate bars or 35 carrots makes no difference, really. Now, the child app, I can ultimately see what they're trying to do, right? It's tapping into the next generation. It's a marketing ploy. Of course it is. That makes sense. But at the same time, people aren't educating their children on how to eat healthy. And that doesn't mean not eating chocolate or crisps. That means getting a balanced diet. Because there are lots of overweight children. That's, that's a given. That's, you just read the figures. The way Weight Watchers are trying to do it, I don't particularly agree with. I think that education should come from the parents to the children, but clearly that's not working. So I can see what they're trying to do. So on one hand, I don't agree with it. I think it's aggressive, it's intrusive. It will encourage eating disorders. If you get someone like me with that kind of OCD, perfectionism nature at that age, that would have got me totally. But yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There are people like us out there that are perfect people for it. We'd have loved the number counting and everything at that young age. But then again, for some kids, they need the education. They need to know that, drinking Red Bull before school with all the sugar in is not acceptable, really. There has to be a better way of communicating it. I don't think Weight Watchers are the people to do it. I don't like the brand and I don't agree with it, but
yeah, it is a fine balance, I think.
It is.
On one hand, something needs to be done.
Yeah.
And kids use apps, so
they do.
You're going to be getting some information out there anyway. But if you look at, I think that one of the worrying things was, I guess, to be like an advisor, the training for on the Weight Watchers is like 3 days, and I'm just not sure whether I'm comfortable, because even I've been to university for 7 years, masters nutrition, but I still feel when it comes to like kids especially that I don't like. I worked in public health on a children's weight management program, and I was still a bit like cautious as to the language. Like there's so much into it. You got to be careful. How, it's all well and good saying like, we did stuff on sedentary behavior, we did stuff on different types of foods and stuff like protein, we need it, and carbs, energy, stuff like that. But still, like, you want to like let kids be kids at the same time.
Exactly. And I don't think diet has a lot to do with it. It's movement. Like I was reading this book recently about this girl who worked as, a servant in this house. And she was like 14 years old, years and years ago. And she ate well. And I mean, like a lot of fatty foods, pastries, because they did then more so. But she was moving a lot, like cleaning, cooking, whatever. Yeah. So for me, kids burn calories so much quicker because they're growing. It's more a movement issue than it is a diet issue. So I don't. I'm like you.
Yeah.
But when I've been to, when I had the awful time of being in the eating disorder clinic for a couple of days, the young girls in there, that are 14, 15, that were severely, severely ill from conditioning, and none of that was to do with not understanding diet. It was looking in magazines and seeing thin women all the time, so I don't know. I don't agree with it, if I'm honest with you, a bit like you, but yeah, that's my point.
And I think it's with the exercise part, because when I look back at if I look back at old photos of me as a kid, all the kids' parties, there's Coca-Cola, there's pastries.
There's loads.
The diet then was way worse. So I'm talking probably, so we rewind like 20 years.
Yeah.
The diet then for kids was horrendous.
It was.
Like you would never see a kid, like say if we went to one of the Italian restaurants in Marlborough High Street, and they do a kids menu, and the actual kids menu was like crudité on there, and I thought, wow, like hummus was like celery sticks. Imagine 20 years ago, your kids menu would be chips.
It was beans and sausages.
Yeah, like it's really funny. Like, yeah, like how things have changed like that. Yeah.
But we would be outside. Like, I remember the only fruit salad at a party I would have had was that stuff in syrup from a tin, covered with condensed milk. But the difference is we'd all be running around outside to burn it off. And now you just sit and you play on you get, like my wedding at the weekend, for example. None of the kids were running around like hooligans. They were all just sat there. And it was like, you're not meant to be playing or doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, I think it's more movement orientated, to be honest. So, and Weight Watchers are just jumping on the next generation of people.
And I guess you could get into a lot of it. For example, there was a study out recently about, someone sent it to me, and that's why I kind of brought it up, how much time dads spend with kids.
Oh gosh.
Eat, okay? And UK was one of the worst in terms of sitting down for a family meal.
Yeah.
So and I think that's quite a key thing, because
I think you're so right. That doesn't happen anymore.
I can't expect like my daughters to eat something that I'm not going to eat.
Yeah.
So, like, when I sat down, if she sees me eat something enough times, she'll at least try it.
Yeah.
Or want it off my plate, because human nature, you want what you can't have. That's why a lot of diets go wrong, actually. But like,
that's so true.
So, for example, I never really cook different meals for my daughters, because to be honest, I'm quite lazy anyway.
Yeah.
They don't eat, they'll eat later. That's the way I see it. But eventually she'll just want what's on my plate, and I guess it's monkey say, monkey do with that there. But I mean, then it's a case of, well, how do you know what to put on your plate? And then it's education again. Then where does that come from? So yeah, I think we technically need to do more in schools, maybe less.
Massively. It's such a society issue more than a sugar and fat, Coke and bloody chocolate issue. It's not that. It's way more ingrained than that. That's the sad thing. I've got friends on two ends of the spectrum actually who will cook their kids exactly what they're eating, be it steak and chips, olives, there are no different kids meals. And then I've got other friends that are like, we'll cook 3 separate meals just so it's crazy. But
I went to Camp Festival actually, and it's a family festival, and there was a speaker there. I can't remember her name, which is annoying because she's got a book and it's actually very good actually. She's a mum and she talks about fussy eating and stuff like that, and she says that there's the issue is a kid loves to say no to mum and dad, right? So if you ask them if they like something, they'll probably say no, even if they do like it. If you take that literally, the problem is as soon as they say yes to something, you keep giving them that, then eventually, like all of us, we get bored.
Yeah.
And when you get bored, you get fed up of that. Then because you've only given them that, they then get a fear of new foods, and they don't like trying new foods. And it's very interesting because I think if you just apply those concepts and try and introduce a new food, like something we did in public health, when we did like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here bush trucker trial, whatever it's called. And we used to get the kids, right? So start at one end of the hall, it's 2 teams, they run to the end, sit down, they open up like a pot. So say you had a pot, and then there'd be a food in there. So it might be like a carrot stick, an olive, I don't know, a bit of beetroot, a pickled onion, new food.
Pickled eggs.
Because it was competitive, because it was competitive, they would either have to try it, eat it, or they would lose a point, and they get a point for everyone they do. And the thing is, because it was competitive and there was prizes for the winners, etc., they all tried the food, and it's just very interesting when you make it into a game.
Yeah.
And she had loads of games as well in that book. I can't remember her name. I'll try and find it out because it was really good actually.
It's weird you should say this, because now you're saying that, I don't have children, so it's really hard for me to give an opinion, and I'll always annoy people with my opinion because I don't have children. But you know what? I treated my eating disorder very much like a child, because I had to feed myself new foods. Was almost like I was a baby again, trying things for the first time, fear of a food, the texture, the consistency. So at the time, I do remember thinking to myself, this is like feeding a petulant child.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can do that is to keep, you have to rewire your brain. And it's the same with a child. You have to wire their brain to know that there's no fear around a food, or if they've seen you be scared of bloody broccoli or sprouts, and they're going to do the same. But I remember treating my eating disorder really similar to that, thinking it's a petulant child. I will have to eat this food and cry and scream and not like it for other reasons than, it was more weight than anything. And it worked. Actually, it did. It worked. You just have to go through it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because it's almost like how you label foods in the other direction, though. So, for example, someone trying to lose some body fat, they'll maybe have a fear of a food.
Yeah.
They'll see it as a trigger.
Yeah.
One thing I suggest that some people do is write a list of these foods that you think you have to avoid to lose weight.
Yeah.
From most fattening to not so fattening.
Yeah.
That you still think are fattening. So these foods that you believe are fattening and sins, whatever. Yeah. And then choose the one that is the least of the fattening foods, and just have a little bit and see if you can start to challenge your beliefs of that over the week.
Such a good idea.
I mean, it's real simple, but at the end of the week, look back and go, right, what happened? Because you can start to knock off your beliefs week on week then.
And also I think that then knocks on the head things like binging, because there are no bad foods or foods that you aren't allowed. If you've had a little bit each day or whatever, then you've kind of fed that desire almost. That's certainly what I found. And actually a fun thing that I still do that Russell, my husband, helps me with is we put in a fear food in a jar, and once a month we pull out of that jar, because I've still got foods that I'm extremely afraid of, and I'll face that fear. And the other week, actually, it was a croissant. I hadn't had a croissant in like 10 years. So we sat in Nero and I sweated and like wanted to cry like a petulant child. But we sat and had this croissant, because did I gain weight overnight from it? Did I lose weight from it? Did anything happen? No, it didn't. But it's facing that fear. So like with people trying to lose weight, it kind of is the same thing. It's around food, and no food should be put on a pedestal. Because the minute you do that, it's like put anything on a pedestal, it falls off, doesn't it?
And I think, again, it's not that you have to have that. Like, just for some people, if you choose, there's a difference between saying I can't have something versus I am choosing not to have this for this period of time.
Correct.
For example, if I say now, like where I've found my body fighting something in the last few days, I haven't trained that much, and I've kind of just made sure I haven't got a few extra things in the house that I'm likely to pick at.
Yeah.
So little things like that. I'm choosing not to have those things right now. It's not that I can't.
Yeah.
I have permission to, but I want to labor it in. So I'm not just going off a bit. There's a difference between choosing not to have something and choosing to have something. But
I totally agree. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sat in Nero choosing to have something that I really don't want. Of course I want to. I'm making a choice to face those fears, because at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen. And I might not want a croissant for another month, but you're right. And the same is the other way. You're totally right. I think if you find yourself snacking at night, because I'm certainly at a place now where I don't need to snack at night like I used to have to snack. And you just have to question yourself, do I really want to snack? Am I doing it because I'm bored? And I think once you give yourself a choice, you're able to make a decision based on how you're really feeling at the time. And you know what? Sometimes you just might want to snack because you're annoyed. And that's fine, as long as it's not every day, and it becomes a habit. And again, it's all of this mindful eating, which again, I'm not necessarily a big fan of, intuitive eating, because that's also an excuse for allowing binging and unhealthy eating habits. But if you can really tune in to listen to hunger, you're on the way to finding acceptance around food. I think a lot of us lose our hunger through we mistake hunger for emotion, or we're thirsty, whatever it might be. Have you really felt that hunger in your stomach before you eat? And I think a lot of us lose that.
Yeah. It was like earlier, I was stuck in traffic, and I was like, I almost went, oh, you know what? Have I got any coffee in my coffee mug left? It's funny. I was really self-aware. I was like, I felt like I had to drink something, or I didn't have food with me, but I was like, I'll just have a drink of my coffee that's in my flask. Like, it was almost like I had to do something.
Yeah,
Like,
you couldn't just be.
Yeah. Or change the rate. Let's change the radio station. It's like whatever it is. Yeah, it's just interesting when you become self-aware. But I think with
self-awareness is half of it, actually, Matt. That's such a good point, and it's something that sounds very yoga and annoying, but to be self-aware is in all walks of life is so powerful because it does actually help you make intuitive decisions around food, exercise, anything. And if you're aware of yourself, your thoughts, your body, it helps, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And just to go back a bit, we talked about like forbidden foods, good foods, bad foods, being good, being bad. It reminds me of like you see this a lot, like as if, are you having cake today? So you see it around back to kids. Like someone might say to the parent, like, you having some cake, and they'll say, no, I'm being good today.
Oh, that drives me.
And if you reverse it, they'll go, if you be good, you get cake.
Yeah.
But the parent is being good by not having cake.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, because you don't know what you don't know, and I'm not saying this from my hypothesis, but I just find it really interesting. Like, no one means to send mixed messages, but that's a real mixed message, and I can't help but just be really conscious. Like, that's really confusing, isn't it? So if I'm really good,
confusing.
Okay, if you're good, you get cake.
Yeah. There's so much reward around food in a good and a bad way, like and you're so conscious of what other people are doing, it's like get your nose out of other people's diet business and concentrate on yourself. I hear it a lot because obviously I'm in coffee shops a lot where I work, and I'm have a skinny cappuccino today because I'm being good. Oh, it's Fat Friday, so I'll have this. And it's like, why does anything have to be labelled? If you want a cake, have a bit of cake. If you don't. You're not good or bad. You're not an evil person, or it's just this whole good and bad around food drives me insane. It's
just one big food fight.
It is massive big food fight. And yeah, I guess if you're in diet culture, and I don't mean diet as in weight loss, I mean diet as in food, then you become self-aware of it. Yeah, if you've been going to Weight Watchers and Slimming World your whole life, you've followed a plan, you've followed points, I believe you lose touch with your body and you stop being self-aware because you've been given this path to righteousness. And then if you get the 30 years reward for being at Weight Watchers, something's wrong. You should not be at Weight Watchers for 30 years. Do you see what I mean? Something's not working. Matt, you've stopped moving. What's happened? Hello?
You're still on mine.
Oh, I've got you. Yay, you! I went off on a run. I think that's what it was.
No, and I get that, and I think it does depend, I guess, on someone's, because if someone's trickling, the trend is right and they need it for the accountability, I guess that's different. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think there has to come to a point where you have to learn to function in the real world, unfortunately. And it doesn't mean you have to be on a diet for the rest of your life. You just, if you know what calories are, you know how to count them. That's all you need to know in life.
I guess that's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're not and not that you have to count calories, but because calories is universal.
Yeah.
Like outside of every weight program, like you can go anywhere and use any program. That's why I like to not have like points or anything like that, because it makes it so that you're almost reliant on that and you don't really understand the concept.
Yeah.
So like counting points, counting sins, stuff like that is a tool to create a calorie deficit. Just like counting calories or using your hand size guide, whatever it is you want to do. So it might be like you portion with your hand, stuff like that, or you aim for protein. Like these are all tools to help you. Or intermittent fasting, they're tools that can be used to create a calorie deficit. But the issue is when you're not educated in the calories, you can become then reliant on the tool.
Correct.
Rather than the principle.
And all that all want you to do is stay part of their brand and pay you money every week.
Yeah.
You're so different. You educate people on food. You tell people what calories are, what fat is, what protein is, not that it's complicated, so that actually in real life they can function, they can read the green, the red, the yellows, which actually surprised people still can't read it.
We're bombarded with so many things. Yeah, like I'm trying to make it as simple as I can.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and it's like there's loads of things like technology is an issue. That's why we've got like the meal plan books coming, and the like people can check in with the manual stuff.
Yes.
Because some people hate technology, some people love it. That's why we've got the apps online, stuff like that. Like, and yeah, you've got there's no kind of one set way, and I think that's the key thing.
Well, you're educating people not to the detriment of Fruci Fit. Do you see what I mean? You're giving away a lot, because what you then give people allows them to then leave you and function. Whereas what Slimming World and Weight Watchers want to do, in my opinion, they want to keep you. So they'll give you as much as they can, but you're reliant on them. And you're scared then to leave, because the worst thing that will happen, you'll put on weight again. And of course you will, because they've not taught you how to function.
I see it. Yeah, I want to give people the tools to do it on their own.
Yeah.
If they want to stay, for the fact they enjoy it, they enjoy the exercise, they enjoy our big retreat kind of things which
are amazing.
And all them things, like I'll get together, stuff like that, and like the social aspect, the community of it, that's great. Or if they have a new goal that they want to push forward on, we can go a few extra different sessions, and that's great. But key thing is that there's nothing better, if I'm honest, than getting an email from someone like I worked with like 3 years ago, and just going, something popped up, and they go, "Oh, I'm still doing your morning challenges."
It's amazing.
Save them, like some people save them, and they still do them and stuff. It's really cool.
You make them fun, achievable, but you're not so driven by scales so much. Of course, people will be weighing themselves because that's important to a lot of people, and a lot of people can't get over the scales. But you also encourage strength training. Do you see what I mean? It's all the right things that I don't know, that again allow us to be able to, like me, you work with me, who have allowed me to leave working with you. I now work for you almost, and function out in the real world. And that's so rare, I think, for people for someone like you to do that.
Good. Well done. Great stuff. Yeah. So, anything else at all at the moment? I think we've covered quite a lot there.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't know how I got into kids when I don't have any, so sorry.
No, that's
no, it's just kind of
I think there's
a food journey you're on. It's never easy. We've all got our own opinions and issues with bodies and food and how we perceive we should look. But I think if you can be self-aware and just appreciate what your body can do, might not look exactly how you want it to, then I think you're halfway there to living some sort of life without diet culture ruling it.
Yeah, and I guess it comes back to defining what the hell we mean by being the best version of you.
Correct.
Is that yours or someone else's?
Yeah, because 2 years ago, would I have imagined that I'd be getting married and a happy, healthy way? No.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what's important. I might not like the body I'm in, but look at this life I'm now living. Like, amazing. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take this body for doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I guess it's defining happiness, right?
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. Cool. I think that's awesome. That's brilliant, because we literally just went off on a chat, and I think there's some really good points in there. Cool. Perfect. So, awesome. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was it from me. Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thanks for doing that. And if anyone does have any questions at all for Katie or anything like that, just send me a message or Katie a message, and we can go from there.
Yeah, do so.
Perfect.
And stretch. Don't forget to stretch.
Yes, don't forget the stretch. Yeah, perfect. Right, thanks a lot, Kate.
Thank you. Take care, sweetheart.
You too.
Bye. Right, I'll stop recording mine as well, okay? And then between us, do you want to send what you've got to me and
Yeah.
Do you want me to upload this one tomorrow or something? Because I've already done one for today.
Yeah, that's perfect. Did
Okay.
it save? It should save on your message as soon as we hang up.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Perfect. That was really good, by the way. We went off on loads of. I think there's loads of really good stuff in that.
I know. I love talking to you. We always go on tangents, but yeah, no, I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Oh no.
What?
Hang on, wait there. I don't think mine's saved.
What, your Skype? I've recorded this in 2 places.
Okay, my screen flow, for some reason, encountered a problem.
I've got 2 recordings.
Can you see if it's worked?
Hang on, I'm going to do one now.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, one's worked.
Brilliant. So I guess you can just edit that to crop the edges, right? Perfect. Yeah. That's annoying. I've just upgraded ScreenFlow as well. I don't know. Oh, I think it was a room error. Storage.
Oh man. Okay, well I've got Skype still recording as well. I did that from the beginning pretty much.
Perfect. Yeah, so when you hang up on Skype.
Where does it go, did you say?
Sorry?
Where does it go? Did you say straight to the
Messenger.
Oh, okay. I'll go in and have a look.